best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody played cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody played cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody played cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. goals. Strong will end a lot of ambition, can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game, what she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end a lot of ambition, can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl.
Hello, ghosties! Oh, shoot. Hello, everybody. How are you? Happy hump day! Sorry for no official schedule. I was gonna try to post one today, but for some reason, my service at work has been ass all day. So, Yuki's rubbing on the phone. That's why I am frozen. But yeah, so I had no service to do anything but actually work. Yuki, what the hell? Oh, Yuki. Oh. Scream queen that can scare the soul, guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body. Hold on. Yuki pressed the button. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri. Oh, there we go. Yuki, my guy. My guy. My guy. Okay. But yeah, I had no service all day at work. I couldn't do anything but actually work. And then I had a coworker who left sick. She's not actually sick. She's just pregnant with twins. But she left sick because she wasn't feeling good today. So I had a busy day at work. I hope everyone else was doing well. As for schedule goes, I should be doing co-working tomorrow. Probably early, actually, like earlier than normal. And then end a little bit earlier than normal, probably. And then I will shoot for like, I really want to get back to painting because I don't want to lose my steam on that. So maybe I'll do painting Sunday morning, I'm not sure. Hello Drought, hello Untitled, how are you guys? Forza Horizon 6? What kind of game is that? I can't say I've heard of it. But welcome in, welcome in. Let's see. But yeah, I should be doing co-working tomorrow. And then I have to be in office on Friday. So I hope to do something Saturday morning. Maybe some painting. That's what I'm going to shoot for. Yeah. Cool. That's really it. I've just been working. I've been really busy. Had a meeting. I've been catching up on stuff. And trying to take some time for myself because I got rejected from a job I really wanted on Friday. I found out it was I'm still pretty devastated about it, but life moves on, life goes on, so we're here, like everything's fine, and I'll find something better later. But for now we're gonna have dinner and a show because we're gonna watch a Pinkery's video about dwarves. And I don't think that I've really watched anything about dwarves in particular. I could be wrong. I could be forgetting something, but like specifically dwarves, I feel like no, they've just come up. So I'm excited to learn a bit more. And I feel like I haven't seen a Pinkery's video in a while, so yeah. I'm excited. And let's enjoy the video. Pancreas Snowworks video about do or don't dwarves. Dwarves? Is one technically correct? I would think dwarves. But maybe that's in the English language, not in... Because he said whatever. Anyway.
But I find myself relating to the dwarf. I can't tell if this is poisoning the well right out of the gate or not, but I find myself relating to the dwarfs more as I grow older. They live underground and are fairly isolationist. I hate leaving my house. They love themselves a good brew. I'm an alcoholic. They have long beards. Give it a few more years and a beard will be the only hair I'll be able to grow on my head. Truly, there has never been a fantasy race I relate to more. But in all seriousness that I can bring myself to be, the dwarfs of Warhammer Fantasy are a great version of the dwarf archetype. Given how old this setting is, there's an argument to be made that they're foundational to it. They've got all the greatest hits, but that bit of Warhammer spice, too, to make sure they stand out above the rest. I mean, come on now. We all know dwarfs are industrious craftsmen, but how often do you see them with helicopters?
I actually don't know how much, like... I was never interested in dwarves as, like, a fantasy archetype. So, I think I kind of learned that they're industrial architects through Warhammer. Like, through us learning about Warhammer lore. That's how I learned about dwarves, like, in general.
I'd wager not very often. The dwarfs of Warhammer Fantasy bring forth the best of arms, armor, and more to the hellish world they live in. They're outnumbered exponentially by basically everyone else. They're hamstrung by their own culture and...
Wait, they're outnumbered by everybody? That's kind of crazy. I did not realize.
Traditions. But by God, if is it impressive to see an army of armored Dowie on the warpath ready to kick someone's teeth in because 1,000 years ago, their great-great-great-grandpa called a dwarf a moderately rude name. So tell me, viewer, do you like advanced technology while at the same time hating advanced technology?
So they hold grudges, we could say.
Do you like righting anything wrong done to you, even if it'd really be better to just let it go? Are you short? Then why don't...
Okay. I felt a little called out by those three, but you know.
Don't you see if the dwarfs of Warhammer Fantasy are the army for you? But before I begin, do you know if you're browsing the internet safely or with any real degree of privacy? Well,
Definitely
if you're like
not.
most people, the answer is probably not really. Well, if you want a surefire way to be sure of that, the sponsor of this video, ExpressVPN, can help with that. ExpressVPN has quite a few uses, but the main ones are online privacy, data security, and content unblocking.
Like
Did you know that in the US, your data
good.
is free to be sold to basically anyone by your internet service provider? And in the UK and Australia, they keep logs of whatever website you visit for 1 to 2 years? Well, ExpressVPN can shut all this down by encrypting and rerouting 100% of your network traffic through their secure servers, so your browsing history is kept private from corporations like your ISP, advertisers, or data brokers.
I really
As someone who
should use a
doesn't enjoy
VPN,
companies knowing their every single move, this is quite nice. Also, because of the encryption I mentioned, ExpressVPN does more than keep your information private. It also keeps you safe from would-be hackers and thieves who might be on the same Wi-Fi, which is a feature good for anyone logging onto a public Wi-Fi who doesn't want some random schmuck deciding they now have unfiltered access to your debit card. And of course, it lets you unblock content from around the world. Most streaming platforms like Netflix have different content libraries based on the country you log in from, with some countries outright restricting access to a lot of media that the rest of the world has access to. Did you know that Return of the King is not available on US Netflix? Well, I didn't until I was very confused one day and wanted to watch it. Well, with ExpressVPN, now my fellow Americans can simply switch themselves over to another country and watch it to their heart's content. And of course, ExpressVPN is also the fastest VPN around, can connect up to 14 devices simultaneously, and is rated #1 by CNET, The Verge, and PC World, among several others, just for a few more things it has going for it. To keep your internet history and data secure, accept no substitutes. Find out how you can get up to 4 extra months by clicking the link in the description box below, scanning the QR code on screen, or by going to expressvpn.com/pancreas. You can never be too safe online, so get ExpressVPN today to make sure you're as safe as you can possibly be. Now then, get ready to strike a grudge from the book and add 10 more, because as we all know...
But the great book of grudges...
They have a great book of grudges? Damn. Don't fuck with a dwarf for real.
Remains full.
As with most of the other fantasy races, the dwarfs get their start as a creation of the Old Ones. If memory serves, they're actually the second race created after the Old Ones declared the elves weren't quite what they wanted. The elves of fantasy wielded amazing arcane might, but they were too frail and potentially prone to just following their own random whims to be reliable enough to achieve guaranteed wins against chaos.
Okay, that's
With
fair.
that in mind, the Old Ones basically went the complete opposite route with the dwarves.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if dwarves were second and elves were first, they were like, we don't like this. Let's go completely opposite. Yuki. Oi. Bud. Come here. I'm giving you pets. You just gotta stay over here.
Dwarfs. They created a race of sturdy beings that could hold fast against anything, one who not only couldn't use magic, but in a sufficient enough gathering of dwarves, magic outright won't work on them. It made them so they'd always uphold their debts and keep their bargains, beings that could never be enthralled by...
That's interesting. So magic doesn't work on dwarves.
Chaos's schemes. Unfortunately, course-correcting so hard to the other end of the spectrum wasn't what the Old Ones wanted either. Their stubbornness and adherence to tradition kept Chaos from corrupting them, but it turned out to be limiting when Chaos pulled out their trickier schemes. Not being able to use magic and focusing on material crafts did help them create some damn fine wonders, including harnessing magic in the safest way possible, but it ended up being more of a weakness than anything at the end of the day. Turns out, being able to throw fireballs the size of houses at people is really helpful when demons are attacking.
Oh yeah, true. I mean, how do you beat that with modern, not modern, but like their technology even? I guess they could invent a way.
Also, while they can't be corrupted really, they can still freely join Chaos if they want. As proof, see the Chaos Dwarfs. But they weren't an abject failure, same as the elves, so the Old Ones let them keep existing and gave them the mountains of the world to call home. As for the dwarf version of their origins, they don't take into account anything on the Old Ones or anything of the sort. Kinda funny in a way, because the elves, at least in some regards, are very much aware of the Old Ones and even have conversations about how that affects their religion sometimes. But no, the dwarfs in their own stories say they were shaped from the mountains by the first dwarfs, the beings that would become their ancestor gods. They were the gods Grimnir, Grungni.
Wait, so they don't know that the Old Ones created them? That's interesting. Huh.
And the goddess Valaya. Grimnir was a war god, bringing low the enemies of the dwarfs and keeping his children safe. Grungni taught the dwarfs the secrets of runesmithing, how to capture magic and magical runes for safe use. And Valaya did everything else. I am not exaggerating. She was also apparently married to both Grimnir and Grungni, which is how the dwarf race came to be.
Go figure that the woman god, or yeah, I guess the woman god does everything. And the men do like one specific thing. They don't know or refuse to credit them. Either way, like, both are kind of cool. Also, hi, Odious. Both are kind of cool. I like it.
Meaning that aside from the fact inbreeding started rather quickly in this tale, it also means that just about every dwarf can be said to in some way relate to their gods directly. When Chaos showed up, unlike some of the other races, the dwarves did not take the fight to the demons. Grimnir did, I guess, but in spite of being a god, he is just one dwarf. The dwarfs as a whole had a different approach. Shut the gates to their holds, bolt the locks, and resoundingly declare it was not their problem outside. Grimnir
Oh my god, that's funny. They're like, we don't look like what's going on over there. Well, time to lock it out. That's for someone else to worry about. It's not my problem. That's so funny. Sweet home Alabama. So all three gods were married and they created the dwarf race amongst themselves. Maybe that's why the dwarves are so short. You can't get taller if your whole family stems from that, right?
marched north to the realm of chaos. Valia locked herself in a vault to gather magical strength, since she was a god and magic is allowed to her apparently, and I don't actually think Grungni did anything too special. Eventually things calmed down due to the efforts of the elves and lizardmen, and the dwarfs re-emerged. From there, the two elder races of the elves and dwarfs would meet, and things were good. While the dwarfs had made contact with man, this was the Tomb Kings who, compared to them, were fairly primitive.
I would have thought that the elves and dwarves didn't get along. Like, the dwarves ignored the problem and didn't help, and then when they re-emerged, like, things were good. I would have thought the elves would have hated them because of that. Like, you guys just hid and didn't help us with anything, you know?
Presumably this happened after Cetra had already passed away, as otherwise he would have wiped the floor with the entirety of the Karazhan Corps for their dismissive attitude towards his people. And to be fair to the dwarves, it was mostly contact with pre-Empire Old World humanity, so barbarians and cavemen. But the elves were another advanced and cultured race, and so they got along just fine. Special mention to Malekith and the dwarf who, spoiler alert, would become Grombrindle, as they had such a legendary friendship that the future Dark Elf King was allowed to bear witness to the dwarf's death. The elves learned how to build and engineer better than ever, and the dwarfs, with the elves' help, refined their runecraft to unparalleled levels. Things were good.
Oh, they actually, like, helped each other advance. That's pretty cool. I don't know why I assumed that their relationship would be strained. I don't know what makes me think that way. Oh my gosh, Yuki, please. You're driving me up a wall, dude. You and your noodle wagging. You and your noodle wagging. Can we stop going in front of the screen? I'm trying to watch this very important video about dwarves. What about this? I've distracted him with the laser. Hi, Dan. Nice to see you finally learning about a right and proper race. Yeah, we're finally doing a dwarves video. We've only just started, so.
And then, it was all downhill for the dwarfs. By contrast, even
did I speak up too soon?
The elves at least have brief periods where they can rebuild just a little bit. The dwarfs would go through sacktap after sacktap until basically the end of the setting. It started small with some cracks in the alliance with the elves, or rather now the High Elves, since Malekith and Morathi had already taken their followers to Nagaroth by this point. Dwarf cultural differences with the elves sometimes made meetings awkward. I'm sure you've seen the scene with Legolas and Gimli drinking. Elves are refined and fairly low-key as far as social situations go, with small gestures speaking volumes to them, and they typically don't cause massive scenes. Dwarves love chugging barrels of booze at every noteworthy occasion and are loud and happy to get in your face.
I was just saying that I don't... Also, hi, Prince. Hi, Frank. I was never super into dwarves as, like, a fantasy element. If you couldn't have guessed, if you couldn't tell, I liked elves. So I don't know a lot about the tropes of dwarves and everything. Like, obviously, obviously I liked fantasy in general, so I saw dwarves, and I know they like to drink like this and stuff, but I kind of forgot. I know I saw Lord of the Rings whenever it came out, but I didn't remember that scene, and now I wish I could see it again. Just that scene. But I feel like I've learned more about dwarves as an archetype even before this video, just watching stuff about Warhammer. Because they come up, obviously, but... Also, is it dwarfs or dwarves? Why is it dwarfs? That seems so incorrect. Most dwarves in fantasy stories are just copy-paste of Tolkien's dwarves. What came first? Tolkien's or Warhammer's? Warhammer does dwarfs. Okay, I was wondering, because I noticed Pancreas's title is dwarfs. And I was saying earlier, like, isn't dwarves technically correct in the English language? Is dwarfs just a Warhammer thing? Like, man. I don't know. Warhammer does do funny things like that, so I did call it. But anyway.
Not in a rude way, or at least a malicious way, but they're a very boastful and, again, loud people. Little social differences like that piled up, but relations were still mostly good. The dwarves supposedly even helped out the High Elves a bit when the Dark Elves first formed, not really understanding the idea of a civil war, but they did at least help out the Asur with some arms for cheaper costs. Then
they were like, we don't know why you're fighting, but we hope this helps. Hi, Shap.
Things got worse. The Grudge of Drong was an old Warhammer fantasy box whose lore set the stage for what was to come. TLDR, the two dwarf holds went to war, the elves went to help one of the holds as they were trading partners, and then the two warring dwarfs decided to beat the snot out of the elves together instead. So tensions were getting a bit worse, and it would
I mean, it was enemies to lovers, but then they took it out on the elves, so...
culminate a few decades after this. On the dwarf side, we have High King Gotrek Starbreaker. He was neither a slayer nor, that Gotrek, but the few images we have of him are giving away the ending a bit, so pretend he just looked like the Gotrek everyone knows for a little. He was a pretty reasonable king. Solid guy all around, I'd say. On the elf side, we have Kalador II, who is best known by the elves for being a colossal screw-up, and as for the dwarfs, they remember him by having two different titles for him to say he has sex with animals. He was arrogant to the extreme and, shall we say, a little racially insensitive, not caring for the dwarfs. Malekith saw this little prick was in charge and hatched a plan to divide the High Elves and dwarfs so in his future invasions of Ulthuan, the dwarfs wouldn't help. It worked, but far better than he could ever have hoped for. Malekith had some dark elf...
I'm good, chap. Thank you. The pointlessly tall.
assassins dress up as High Elves and attack dwarf caravans, leaving behind evidence to make it look like High Elves did it. Classic false flag attack stuff. Gotrek Starbreaker initially responded incredibly calmly, especially for a dwarf, because in a missive to the Phoenix King, Kalador, all he asked for in recompense was an explanation as to what happened. All Kalador II needed to do was say, hey, that civil war problem we had a while ago was kind of kept going, and they did it. That's it. And if he wanted to be nice, maybe a fruit basket for the families of the dead dwarfs. Instead, he didn't even meet with the ambassadors of this inferior race. Now Gotrek was being insulted, and naturally a bit suspicious, so...
when people let fucking pride ruin things.
He now demanded payment in gold for what was lost as well as for the dead dwarfs. This is, again, still a completely reasonable request. Kalador II responded by shaving the ambassador's beard. You don't do that to a dwarf, and now it's time for bloodshed. Oh, and you don't need to worry about those dark elf assassins from...
Oh, shit. Why would he do that? That's insane. Did he just, like... want to start a fight? He didn't think, like, it might be important to, like, have dwarves on our side later? He hated them that much? Man. Racism's crazy.
The beginning anymore, by the way. I'm sure they won't cause the world any more catastrophic harm by helping give rise to, say, the father of necromancy. The War of the Beard of the High Elves and...
Wait, okay, I need to do a video deep dive watch on him for sure.
War of vengeance to the dwarves began, essentially fantasy World War I. The two sides decimated each other, with high elf colonies burning and dwarf holds being reduced to rubble. The war ended with Gotrek cutting off Kalador's head and taking the Phoenix crown.
Whoa. He cut off the elf's head? Damn, good for him.
Initially striking out the grudge that caused the war. But the war had shattered the trust the races had in each other, and for the dwarfs put many more entries into the Book of Grudges than were crossed out. Never again would the dwarfs and elves trust each other.
Damn, that sucks that they completely lost trust for, like, both of their races forever, with, like, one guy being a racist asshole. That's so disappointing.
Now regarding each other as natural enemies rather than what should be the greatest of friends. And then, as I said, things got worse. The Time of Woes began, which from the name I'm sure you can guess how that's gonna go.
It probably went super good, right?
The start of the Time of Woes began with two events colliding, one fairly innocuous on paper, and one that was a Skaven project, so you already know that's evil. For the former, the Slann were looking at some plaques and decided the feng shui of the planet needed a bit of realigning. The Slann being Slann, this was done by physically moving entire bits of the planet around, primarily mountains. Dwarf holds are sturdy, but not so sturdy that if someone started moving a mountain a few dozen feet to the left, there wouldn't be tremendous damage. That on its own already would have been awful, but the Skaven simultaneously decided to expand Skavendom a decent bit with some extremely large machine or other. The Skaven being the Skaven, the machine blew up, which did expand their tunnel networks, but also somehow blew up across almost every mountain in the old world. I think it also actually killed most of the Skaven alive at the time, but that was undone in a month tops, and more importantly for this video, it blew apart what was left of a lot of the dwarfs' holdings. The Underway, the underground highway they used to connect their entire civilization, was in many parts completely collapsed or flooded with lava, and just about all of it sustained heavy damage. Entire holds collapsed outright between these two events. And worst of all of this damage paved the way for massive amounts of greenskins to get access to dwarf holds. Countless of them fell over the span of just a few.
So the Skaven tried to take advantage of the old ones, increasing the feng shui of the world, but they fucked up and their expansions exploded and created more openings for people to come in and fuck with the dwarves. They weren't even involved in any of it, poor guys.
Few years, including to the opportunistic Skaven who figured they might as well take advantage of this happy little accident. A few hundred years later, Carrick 8 Peaks.
Whoa! Doom Diver Peak. Gyrocopter landing pad. The 8 peaks. There's definitely more than 8 peaks, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, maybe it's like the big ones. But there's quite a lot named here. The Endless Pit. Entrance to the City of Pillars. Whoa. Some mines. A town. An abandoned mine. A citadel. Kingsgate, Silver Tower. Wait, this is a cool map. Broken Tooth Encampment. Warhammer Fantasy lore runs deep. Yeah, it's deeper than I feel like I give it credit for. I love how everything is named. Crescent Mountain, Sunrise Mountain, White Lady, Shadow Mountain, Mount Redstone, Sunset Mountain, Windswept Mountain, and Silverhorn. Okay.
The second greatest hold they had also falls to goblin attacks. This particular hold would then, for the rest of the setting's history, become a never-ending three-way battle between goblins, Skaven, and the dwarfs trying to reclaim it. They did for a little while have a Silver Age beginning around year 0 of the Empire of Man's calendar, which is no coincidence as it was in part brought about by Sigmar helping them clear out plenty of greenskins from their territory. Sigmar really hated orcs, possibly more than he did chaos, so he had no problem lending a hand when they asked.
Wow, did he really? Why did he hate orcs so much? We suspect that part of the reason Age of Sigmar lore is so loosey-goosey is because Games Workshop struggled to add new things to Warhammer Fantasy because everything was already super fleshed out, detailed, and defined. I see. I didn't know he was such an orc hater, Sigmar.
Quite frankly, I imagine they probably would have to sometimes tell him to chill out and take it slow after he would dive into the deepest pit of a hold like that one meme of Kratos free-falling. Some new inventions were made and things were all around pretty alright. Then it was back to slowly losing ground inch by inch against Greenskins and Skaven, because they had their chance to breathe, so it was time for the sack taps to come back.
Right.
By the time of the Great War against Chaos, which is only a few years ahead of where the Old World is at the moment in the timeline, the dwarfs were in perhaps the worst spot they'd ever been in. Millennia of losing territory to their enemies and the slow dwindling of their population has left the Dawi facing the fall of their empire for good. They're a disunited people, with the Great War against Chaos as reigning High King, making specific note of the fact that many of the lesser kings of the dwarfs were not nearly as helpful against the threat as they should have been. Things do not look good for the everlasting
I wonder why that is.
realm, but fear not. Though diminished, they've made sure that every inch they lose is covered in the blood of their enemies before it's lost.
Hell yeah, brother.
Warrior may fall, but it'll take 10 Greenskins or Skaven down with him as he does. Their armor is unmatched, their weapons the pinnacle of engineering in the world, and their spirit unbroken still. The dwarfs are on the warpath, and though this is cheating with meta-knowledge a bit, in a few decades a youngish dwarf named Thorgrim will return to start the Age of Reckoning and bring a fervor not seen in thousands of years back to this ailing people. And maybe, just maybe, your army will be ready for him when he comes. Let's see if they're the army for you now, how about?
Okay, lore positives. I'm ready for this. Oh. Hi, Mui. Thank you for the raid.
There's nothing happening.
How are you, Mui? It's doing good. Welcome in, everybody. We're just casually hearing movie in the background. YouTube is not accepting chats? Oh. That's so weird. Hi, YouTube. Sorry, chat's not working. That's so weird. Oh, yeah, I see. Huh. Stream is good. We're learning about dwarfs in Warhammer. We're learning about dwarfs. What did you do? How did your stream go? Thank you for the raid. If you guys do not know me, I'm YuureiRiri. You can call me Riri. I'm a variety streamer. Recently, I've been getting into Warhammer. I really like Nikkei. I've been painting miniatures. I do co-working streams where we yap and hang out. I have an advice show that is making its return soon. So if you need advice, you can submit your request for advice at !advice. Hi again, Untitled. It's working for you. I wonder why it's not working for other people. That's so interesting. Huh. Hello, Alcoholic Cupcake. Hello, Mui. Hello, Crafting. Bite the Raiders. I mean, with a name like Alcoholic Cupcake, I suppose we could bite them and it would be okay. Flawlessly wrap Eminem's Godzilla? Definitely not. Definitely not. I taste good? I bet you do. I'm thinking like, I feel like everyone would do like champagne cupcakes, like champagne raspberry cupcakes. That was for sure a thing. And I've had some and they're great. Like, oh, I could see like a Bailey's cupcake being really good. Or like espresso martini. Yeah, chocolate rum. There's lots of good options. Yeah, chocolate Bailey's. Yeah. I'd probably prefer more of a Bailey's or why am I saying it like that? Bailey's. I think I'd like a Bailey's kind of cupcake more than a champagne, even though I don't typically go for chocolate. I can even see some kind of like brown sugar something. I guess just an espresso, but anyway. But yeah, right? A Bailey's cupcake? That's what I'm thinking. Like a Bailey's Kahlua moment. Ooh. But anyway. We're getting so off topic here. It sounds like how at a college party how someone would yell Bailey's. I know, right? That's why I was like, where did that come from? Why am I talking like that? But anyway, today... Oh, I'm trying to... okay. Today, we're learning about dwarves. We only just started, really. We kind of have an overview, and now we're about to learn about lore positives, so like good things about dwarves and their lore. So if you're interested in dwarves or for fantasy or Warhammer, feel free to stick around. If that's not your vibe, that's okay. I appreciate a lurk too. But yeah, that's what we're doing. Lore positives. Beards. Nah, see, I disagree. A good thing we can all have different opinions, and even though mine is the most correct, we can all have them anyway. Alright, lore positives. Dwarf lore positives.
First off, for this bit, the dwarfs are pretty standard dwarfs. That might sound like a backhanded statement, but I don't mean it as such. I like classic fantasy archetypes, and as much as Age of Sigmar making things like the Kharadron Overlords is cool as hell, sometimes I just want to have a dwarf. And these guys sure enough fit that archetype perfectly. They're expert craftsmen who place great value on their work.
That comment about them being like stereotypical dwarfs. Hi, Tulip, welcome in. The comment about them being like what you'd expect of a dwarf. This is a bit of a tangent, but it makes me think of zombies, which nobody was expecting me to say. But so like zombies, I feel like there are a bunch of... No, you're good, Tulip. Welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you for joining on the raid. You're never late. You're just on time. Zombies have a bunch of different like subset categories, kind of. Like you have one typical like brainless, fast moving zombie, or actually I forget now. I actually took a zombie history and culture class in college, but it's been a minute, so I don't remember the first archetype that started, if it was the fast moving ones or the slow moving ones. But like you started with one, and then people kind of branched off and they experimented and played with the idea of a zombie and what a zombie could be. And I feel like people haven't done that with an archetype like dwarves. Maybe I'm wrong. Slow zombies are chill though. I kind of prefer slow zombies because I feel like it makes more sense. Well, I don't know. I see both sides, but I think movies can be a little bit spookier if they're slow zombies, because the only way they can get you is if they sneak up on you, right? Slow is first, fast wasn't a thing until 28 days later. I think so. I think there was like a lot of discussion too about like, are they zombies? And they called them a different word there, but culturally it's in the same category as a zombie. But like my zombie culture class, like we started from the very beginning, like the roots in like voodooism and stuff, and like the very first movie to feature what someone would brand as a zombie. It was really interesting. I was in the honors college and I had to take a certain number of honors credits, and some of them had to be like extracurricular. So there was a big list, and I was like, you know what? I like zombies. Let's do this. But anyway, I digress. So I feel like, you know, zombies is an example of an archetype where people have started to really explore what zombies are and what they can do, while still definitely being a zombie. And hearing them talk about the stereotypical dwarfs, I'm curious if there are other fantasy archetypes where they've done that or where they haven't. And I feel like dwarves have not been as experimented with. Zombies can also be pumpkins. Old school magic slow zombies are the coolest. Yeah, there's something really cool about slow zombies. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I feel like if they're slow, I could maybe survive a little bit. If they're fast, I have no hope. There's no hope for me.
Underground, tunneling through the mountains for riches. They're greedy little bastards, but honest in their word, and when they give you an oath, you better believe they'll do everything in their power in order to fulfill it. It's cool to see. If that's the kind of vibe you love too, then you can do no better than these brave dwarfs. But they still have that Warhammer spice to keep them interesting. In this case, a lot of it is exaggerating dwarf characteristics to extreme levels. All dwarfs are craftsmen and love a good smithing project. In Warhammer, dwarfs creating magical runes involves the most esoteric nonsense on the planet that must be done in order to do it right. They must perfectly carve the rune, and the metal they've engraved it into must be cooled at exactly midnight on the 3rd Saturday of the 12th month by dipping it into troll's blood backwards.
What
Dwarfs
the
in all
hell?
settings love.
So runes are complicated, and then through runes they're able to have magic? Is that how that works? Miss when zombies were just magic resurrected dead. I mean, it's another cool version of a zombie. I do feel like that archetype is less popular now than like bioweapon illness kind of zombie. Vampires are another thing that seems to be splitting like zombies did. Werewolves also. Yeah, vampires for sure. I feel like people have played with the archetype quite a bit. Crafting, you feel like you've played it. Making her somewhere between fantasy and Age of Sigmar overlords. That's just a personal game, so it doesn't really count. I mean, but it's cool to hear about still, you know? Like, I want to hear about a dwarf who has like a freak accident run-in with some sort of like wizard or something, and he gets cursed and now he's tall and he doesn't fit in with all the other dwarves. I want to hear about the subset dwarf race that's like tall. Like they mutated or something. And so there's like one subculture of them that are tall. Like I want to hear about, I don't know. Like, is it more about the look? Is it more about the things they like creating? Like, what makes a dwarf a dwarf? It's such a philosophical argument I don't want to get into. Hi, Gio. How are you?
A good drink. There's a unit in the game that makes dwarfs move faster because they want to catch up to it. It's a beer cart. Dwarf beer in Warhammer Fantasy can also be used to feed a dwarf for days or as fuel for vehicles. Good luck if you ever try it. And of course, grudges.
It makes me want to try it, though.
Must be mentioned. No proper dwarf in any setting will accept a slight against them, but in Warhammer Fantasy, the dwarfs are psychologically incapable of letting bygones be bygones. They will
It's like psychologically incapable. It's not like they could choose to. They just don't have the ability to forgive a grudge. They have to make it even. That's crazy. Half dwarf, half elf? Like, that could be a thing, sure. Hobbit started as a bedtime story. Did it really? That's really cool. Tall dwarves are either space wolves or salamanders. No. Dwarves that are tall. Like, zombies that were fast, people were like, whoa, I don't know if that's a zombie or not. You know, like, there was argument in nerd realms. In the corners of the internet where the nerds dwell, there were arguments about if they're a zombie or not. I want people to experiment with what makes a dwarf a dwarf. You know?
Demand immediate restitution, and if such is not settled, into the Book of Grudges goes the offense. It's very simple.
Tall dwarves are totally a thing. Haven't you seen a VTuber over 5 feet? Lamau? Hey, I'm over 5 feet, okay? I don't know how tall 5 feet is in centimeters, but I'm over 5 feet, okay? I count.
Once a grudge is entered, there are typically only 2 ways to complete it. Sometimes a price in gold or material will be accepted as payment for a grudge. It can theoretically be as simple as that. In practice, most grudges are solved with the death of the offending party.
Oh, shit. This is what we call a sample size of 1. Oh, that got me. Dwemer from Elder Scrolls, I think, are the coolest dwarves, especially since they are elves. Wait, what? Okay, so their Book of Grudges. Sometimes you might be able to pay some gold, but most of the time you just have to die. It's not even an eye for an eye. It's an eye for your life. You stole my bread, die. I imagine something like that is like a gold one, but you wronged my cousin, die. It doesn't have to be that extreme, guys. We could. It doesn't have to be that extreme.
And while some dwarf fans will likely say this is exaggeration or only limited to some of the goofier bits of lore, allow me to tell you some of the more fantastical grudges. I'm sure you're familiar with people in fiction listing off reasons someone sucks while they hand them their ass.
True.
See Goku beating the shit out of Frieza, among plenty of other examples. In the end times, and this is one of those few end times moments where it was awesome, Thorgrim killed the Skaven character Queek Headtaker while listing off every single thing he did to earn a grudge. Badass, but
that sounds amazing.
not too silly yet. Well, consider this one Godric and Felix side character. He was a dwarf who said he hadn't spoken to his cousin in decades and had him in his own personal book of grudges because he didn't pay a bar tab once. There was an instance where a human city accidentally shorted the dwarfs 2 coins on payment for building it, whereupon the dwarf settled the grudge by leveling the entire city. Even in
She's like, that's not really. You build a city and they short you 2 coins. And then you level the whole city. Now you're in the wrong. That's not making it right. That's making it worse. So get the 2 coins. Or get equivalent of the 2 coins. Leveling a whole city is a lot more than 2 coins. They didn't pay? What if it was an accident? What if they miscounted? Sounds like human logic. This is why I wouldn't get along with dwarves. I think. Of course, you take the product back when they don't pay. Take 2 coins worth of the city back. They paid most of it. They just missed 2 coins. Also, if someone tries to eat dinner and then they don't pay, you don't make them throw it up. You make them do something else to make up for it. I don't know. I feel like this fucks them more than the people that they built it for. But that's just me. That's me and my human logic for sure.
Some dwarfs dispute this tale, but it's important to note that just as many dwarfs consider it a valuable lesson on why you should never short a dwarf. But of course, the ultimate to me is a grudge against a mountain. A landslide killed a bunch of dwarfs once, whereupon they swore revenge against the goddamn mountain. And then
if I only pay 99% of my credit card bill, my bank takes 100% of my income. Okay, I don't think we want to say that using credit card company logic is how we want it to go, you know? It's a self-destructive element of the society. I mean, I get it. I just think it's really funny. Thankfully, I'm trying to become an accountant and not a chef. True.
and strip-mined it to pieces. It doesn't matter that dwarfs aren't fast. If they say they're coming to get revenge, you can be damn sure they're on their way to at least try. And just to top it off, the great book of grudges their High King has not only has the greatest of all wrongs against the dwarf people in it, but new entries are written in the High King's blood. Imagine pissing someone off so much they cut open their hand and start writing just what you did with their blood so they can take revenge later on. That's awesome. If you hate the idea of anyone wronging you,
that's so fucking metal.
Getting away with it, you're a dwarf player, and you just don't know it yet. Aside from that, they also differ from dwarfs in the extremes they take their engineering skills. Dwarf engineering usually means some fairly mundane stuff, all things considered. The finest of blades and armor, that kind of deal. In Warhammer Fantasy, the dwarves have helicopters. They have flamethrowers and cannons that can rip asunder anyone who looks at them funny, with technology basically no one else can hope to match. The Skaven in theory surpass dwarf tech, but dwarf tech has the advantage of not blowing up if you look at it wrong. So if you like the idea of being technologically advanced in a fantasy setting, but also dislike the idea of your tech being as volatile as, well, Skaven technology, then the dwarfs are for you. Bit of an odd one here, but I'd say the dwarfs are also perfect for fans of the Roman Empire, or those who appreciate playing as a long-standing, powerful empire in general. Much of
No, I can see the argument for that.
the scientific and religious language of the empire, for example, is in Khazalid, the language of the dwarfs. They've given the Empire much of the foundations of what it would become, and they themselves have streaks of the Byzantine Empire amongst themselves. They're a remnant of a bygone era where they ruled much of the world, and though weakened, still continue to influence the world in a variety of ways and have no small amount of military force backing them up.
It's kind of cool that they're so influential despite being like the smallest race, they said. Like, that's pretty... the mountain knew what it was doing.
That idea speaks to you, I'd recommend the dwarves too. They're also firmly on the good guy side of things, if in that Warhammer way where they still do plenty of brutal killing, like that 2 coins for a city business earlier. Dwarves don't actually like war. They try to avoid it, and remember that the goddess who gave them most of their culture and civilization was not a war goddess. Her Bardin and Vermintide, among other sources, Valaya is most pleased when you're welcoming someone into your house and offering them a pint of beer. When they go to war, it isn't just for the sake of glory, though of course dwarfs are happy to seek some glory. They do it to avenge wrongs to their people, to set right what they believe to be a fundamental wrongdoing. Anything that isn't that kind of war is them crusading against genuine threats to all that is good, such as vampires and chaos. Plenty of grudges are by our standards nonsense and should just be gotten over, which is something I'll return to later. But I would argue that there's not a single dwarf grudge that was pursued out of selfish desires, at least in the sense of only inflating someone else's pockets or whatever and using it as a motivation. And beyond that, they help the other races when they can. Even the elves they helped, as the modern day of Warhammer fantasy rolled around and Thorgrim Grudgebearer took the seat of High King. They're the reason the Empire is still around. They taught mankind smithing, how to make gunpowder and weapons, how to make buildings that weren't animal skin tents. They were
very influential.
Reason the Empire is great, because among the 3 things that make it great, without the dwarfs they'd have no steel or gunpowder. Only faith, and faith alone does not drive back the chaos hordes.
Sure
all
doesn't.
The dwarf culture has issues.
If faith alone drove them back, we'd be so goated. The Battle Sisters would just need to exist.
They are firmly on the side of good, so if you think those players reveling in chaotic carnage need a good sack tap of their own, the dwarfs are right up your alley. Dwarfs are also an excellent pick for those of you who want a good comeback or underdog story. There is no race as down on their luck as the dwarfs are. While the Empire is always besieged, it is also repeatedly stated to be the greatest nation of men in the entire old world. And beyond that, mankind being dominant in Warhammer fantasy is not an uncommon theme to hear about. It's constantly under threat from all sides, but at the end of the day, mankind is fine, even if the Empire may not be. Disregarding the end times, of course, as always. Even the High Elves are fairly safe on a moment-to-moment basis, being thousands of miles away from most threats on their island of Ulthuan. The dwarfs, meanwhile...
That's crazy. Okay, I guess that explains why the elves weren't mad at the dwarves for hiding out in their caves, because they were like away on an island, so they didn't do a lot either.
Some hold or other are pretty much always under attack. They fight Skaven and Greenskins the most, but they fight just about everyone else plenty too. Chaos is a frequent enemy, but even the undead will seek to raid dwarf holds as well, only because zombies in dwarf armor will be quite a bit sturdier than what they normally are. The deck is stacked against them. That hasn't stopped.
There's zombies in fantasy? Hey Noodle, I'm doing good, how are you?
The dwarfs from playing a winning hand before, and it won't stop you either. Are you a stubborn asshole? Because the dwarfs are great for you then. They just do not give up, and I don't just mean on the battlefield. They will refuse to admit they are wrong unless you can essentially get one of their gods to tell them otherwise. Their ways are set in stone. They will follow those ways, and anything to the contrary is irrelevant. You could show a dwarf a mathematical equation on why some aspects of how they do things in their day-to-day life is objectively hurting them, and they'll just call you a wazzock and probably write you in their personal book of grudges afterwards.
That's crazy. Nagash is after all a necromancer. That's true. I wasn't really thinking about them being considered zombies, but yeah, you're right. I guess they would be. There was a video about vampire counts, an Adric podcast recommended to me, so we'll probably watch that. I don't know. I'm hoping next week, maybe. With that being said, I have to go do the thing I always have to do every day at this time. So we're going to take a small break. I should be back in like 15 minutes at most. And we'll continue the video about dwarves, okay? I'll be right, guys. Yeah, I really like... Oh, that video's good? Yeah, I want to see it. Is it poop? No. It's not. But I'll be right back.
Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game, what she doing, what she playing, everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition, can't see through them like apparitions, determined to bring only the best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show, klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought, suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game, what she doing, what she playing, everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition, can't see through them like apparitions, determined to bring only the best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show, klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought, suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game, what she doing, what she playing, everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition, can't see through them like apparitions, determined to bring only the best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show, klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought, suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game, what she doing, what she playing, everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition, can't see through them like apparitions, determined to bring only the best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show, klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody play cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody play cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody play cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game, what she doing, what she playing, everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition, can't see through them like apparitions, determined to bring only the best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show, klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought, suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game, what she doing, what she playing, everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition, can't see through them like apparitions, determined to bring only the best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show, klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought, suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game, what she doing, what she playing, everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition, can't see through them like apparitions, determined to bring only the best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show, klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought, suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game, what she doing, what she playing, everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition, can't see through them like apparitions, determined to bring only the best, get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show, klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but
guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession.
Hello.
Hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to
I'm
be
back.
not as
Give me a second to
girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she
get
playing.
back to this.
Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty
Hello,
girl
everybody.
steals your body, steals the
Hello,
show.
everybody.
Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting
I'm making my
her is
return. I'm making my way downtown.
scream queen that can
I'm
scare
walking
the
fast.
soul, but guides all wandering souls back
And I'm
home.
homebound.
Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri.
Hold on, this always
the
takes a second to like
ghosty
start
girl. I
back
said
up.
it's Riri the ghosty girl.
Let me see if this works. Hopefully this works. Okay, it did in fact work. Okay. Ta-da! Hi, Val. Welcome. Thanks for waiting to say hello to me. I appreciate it. Also, hi, Bod. Welcome in. Okay. Now we can resume the dwarves.
I'm sure you can see how this can cause them no small amount of trouble in the con section later, but there is something to be said about sticking to your guns. They may die on whatever hill they choose to, but chances are they'll take you with them. And for a final lore positive, do you hate elves with 99% of your heart? Everything about those prancy little princesses pisses you off.
No, I love them.
And I'm sure I don't need to tell you that the dwarfs are right up your alley. Part of an old dwarf saying is that if you mistrust an elf, you can do no wrong. They do not like the elves. Even after the Old World's era in the timeline, when the elf Finnabar was repairing relations, most dwarves would still happily take their axes to the first elf they saw.
Dang, it's that bad, huh?
Books, Gotrek nearly allowed a magical artifact to be used to essentially drown the coastlines of the Old World. His reason for this? Because it would also drown Ulthuan, which would be entirely worth it for all the dead elves. If you hate elves more than almost anyone, just play dwarfs. You'll be content. Of course, I said almost anyone, and hating them with 99% of your heart, because no one hates elves more than Pelennor Whitestrake. I'm sorry, dwarf players, but you simply cannot match the wrath of the Shezarene.
Who's Pelennor Whitestrike? I feel like... Is that a dwarf or is that something else? Elder Scrolls Doomslayer of Elves. Okay. You know, fair enough. Tabletop positives. See, this is interesting because I still have not played. Well, not even played. I still don't know how tabletop works. For curiosity's sake, I want to like watch a video about how to actually play the game, but...
Because I have some anger to work through, let's go over some special things about them before I go over the basics. First off, dwarfs can't take any generic magical items in the rulebook. Instead, they can get powerful runic magic items, which essentially act as the same thing, with the rulebook even stating that the same rules for them apply to runic items as well. With that said, there's also 5 more.
So, runic items are magic, but to them it's not magic. Yuki, oi. Yuki, you're blocking the screen. Didn't you know that's rude? We just talked about this earlier. Warhammer Old World is a completely different genre of tabletop. Oh, really? A different genre? There's different genres? I had no clue.
Caveats to go over. 1. No item can have more than 3 runes on it. Obviously for balancing, but in the lore it's because nothing can handle more than that much runic magic. 2. You have to put runes on their corresponding equipment. No putting an armor rune on a weapon, lest you break with sacred tradition. Maybe it also just can't work like that, but I'm assuming any dwarf who tries something like that, even if it could work, is in for a 10-hour-long dressing down at the least. 3. You can't repeat rune combinations, be that for loadouts of 1, 2, or 3 runes. You can have the same rune multiple times, but if one model only has it and nothing else, another model better have another rune to go with it. This is outright called...
That's really interesting. Huh. It just works. Old World is rank and flank. AOS is skirmish. Huh. How... Thanks for the lurk, Em. How... Rank and flank. I mean, I guess since I just don't know how tabletops work, it doesn't make sense to me. But it's interesting. Square bases versus round bases. Is there a difference other than just the physical look of it?
Called the Rune of Pride, and the explanation is that runesmiths are prideful shits who don't like people copying their work. 4. Each master rune can only be used once per army. And 5. Unless specifically stated otherwise, you can't stack multiple of the same rune. This was a rather lengthy explanation for a single thing as small as this, relatively speaking, and the reason for that is because dwarf runes are absolutely insane. For 100 points, give someone a toughness characteristic of 10. Those of you from 40k might be thinking, well, that ain't too high. Yes, Yes, it is. Toughness alongside every other stat caps out at 10 in the old world. You could just give the highest toughness score in the game to some random asshole willy-nilly. Give a model d6 wounds per attack in a game where a lord on a dragon barely reaches 10 wounds. Add an extra dice when dispelling an enemy spell. Dwarfs aren't just limited to runic items because they're dwarfs and can't use normal magic. They don't need normal magic items.
Oh, Yuki, come here, Bubby. Come here. Yes. Let's see. Hi, Fred. Dwarf models, you'll see they're on square bases and parked directly next to each other. This creates a big block of models to act as a single unit, and there are rules for how that block can move. Oh, interesting. Okay. Have you ever played? No, I haven't. I haven't. But I did get Space Marines 2, and I'm gonna see if my friend is available to play with me. I need to see if she's available next week, if she wants to schedule something next week. So I might finally experience my first, wow, I'm like stuttering like crazy. I might finally experience my first Warhammer video game. Hi, Yuki. What? What, Bubs? He's giving me no kiss paws. Oh, yeah? Did you want to say that to chat? Yeah? Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but yeah, I haven't played yet. Maybe. I mean, I'm more likely. I'm doing good, Fred. How are you? I'm glad YouTube chat is working. Earlier it wasn't working, so. The block of blows are square rectangle, which gives it a front, rear, and side. Oh, interesting. Okay.
As a final quick little note on runic magic here, runesmiths, rune lords, and the Anvil of Doom can dispel enemy spells. Runesmith dispels as if they were a level 1 wizard, rune lords level 2, and the Anvil of Doom a level 3.
Okay. Well, you're purring, but he just bit my hand. I don't know. You heard his little mews? Yuki. Oh. I see. You're gonna try to bite me. Here you go. No. We were having nice cuddle session watching together. Why must you bite me? He had nothing stuck in his paw. He was just meowing. He just wants stimulation. YouTube chat was borked earlier. I'm glad it's working now. Those sorts of considerations are not in Sigmar. Getting attacked from the front or the side or the rear makes no difference. Oh, I see. So where you attack makes a difference with the rules. That sounds so complicated. He missed his meds. He doesn't have any, but I feel like Yuki probably does know. Or, sorry, I think Yuki probably does need meds. He's a very anxious cat. He's very attached to me, and he's very anxious. Like, he's a COVID kitty for sure. And he shows it. Yeah, that was a really good explanation. I agree. Thanks, Laura. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good night.
Wizard. Now for the more general stuff that pisses me off. First off, toughness. If you want an army that just won't die, the dwarfs are an excellent choice.
Okay.
Heavy armor is basically army-wide, giving you an immediate 5-up armor save before anything else comes into play. Shields can easily bump that up to a 4-up save, and full plate armor isn't all that uncommon either, meaning a 3-up armor save is a frequent occurrence here. Again, for those of you watching primarily into
jargon
40K,
for
the
me.
old world by comparison is not that lethal of a game. Chunking through a unit takes time unless it's a unit of like 5 dudes for some unknown reason. With the dwarf's armor save, that is going to take some time. But wait, it gets worse. Or better, I guess. Gromroll Armor is a special rule a lot of dwarf models have. It lets them re-roll failed armor saves of 1.
Whoa.
Now, follow me through on this thought exercise from hell.
Okay.
You have a unit of dwarf iron breakers armed with shields. They have a 3-up armor save and Gromroll Armor, so they're re-rolling all of those save throws of 1. You are basically only taking wounds on a 2, because if you roll a 1, you get another chance to roll a 3 or higher. If someone brings a bunch of archers...
Fred, thank you so much for 9 months. Okay, Didi, welcome back home. Thank you for the membership. Wow, for 9 months? Dang, thank you so much for the support. We have a stream, baby. Wow, 9 months is crazy. I can't believe I've been like learning Warhammer for 9 months. Because that's where most of my YouTube audience comes from. Was me learning about Warhammer. And for those of you that are here during Warhammer, I appreciate you so much. And for those of you that are here for everything else, I also appreciate you so much. That's a support baby right there. Sure is. You can have custody, Fred. So Old World tries to be more simultationist, where the rules are trying to mimic real world battles, where AOS is more gamist. They're more about streamlining. Okay. I'd probably prefer AOS rules, I imagine. Mac, thank you so much for 11 months. Sorry, since we're watching videos, my alerts are kind of borked. But thank you so much for 11 months, Mac. Okay, Lady, welcome back home. Yeah, thank you. Managing. Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm a manager for talents at Glitch Stars. So I'm not in Glitch Stars, but I'm a manager for Glitch Stars. And yesterday was my 1-year anniversary. My Manes anniversary, as someone put on Twitter, but my anniversary for being a manager, which was pretty crazy. I honestly, this whole year flew by so fast, and I didn't expect to make it a year sometimes. So thank you, Mac. Thank you, Fred. Like a simulation. Yeah. I got there. Yeah. It sure as hell did fly by. I know, it's crazy, huh? Because I manage Dreamers, but I also manage Stim. I always was trying to help her when she was a manager, and when she became not a manager, I became her manager. So it's interesting. It's working with different personalities is really interesting. Managing Stim is a full-time job. I honestly think it's because Stim was a manager herself. So she, like, I don't know. I feel like she's just so ingrained in the system that we have, and she knows, well, I don't know. She just like is on top of things. It's her personality, and I think the fact that she was a manager before. So maybe Stim best duo. What would our ship name be? Steery? Rim? Okay, no, not Rim. I don't think that's a good one. The kitties are more than enough to worry about with that. Adding a support baby into the mix. True. AOS is the most fun and easiest to get into. So I wonder if it'd be better to look at rules for AOS tabletop instead of Yuurei pack. Rim LOL. It's short and sweet, but like it's not ideal, I think. Now I really want fan art with Stim and the hashtag to be Rim. That's so funny. But yeah, every talent that I manage like has their own expectations and things that they're working on, and every talent that I interact with has like, you know, different goals and desires and like different things that they want to be involved with and things that they don't want to be involved with, you know, like more hands off versus hands on. So I think in general it's like it's a combination, but Stim's personality, she's super Like, she's super hands-on, but is also good at asking for help. But also has like big goals and dreams, right? So there's a lot to help her with. But anyway, I don't want to turn this into a yap about how great all the girls are at Glitchar's stream. Man, I love my Rim fan art. It's a powerful phrase. But yeah, it's been a pretty wild year. But it's been a good one. So we'll see where the next, I try to take it like a month at a time. We'll see where the next month or two takes me. It is, I will say, the most difficult thing is not the actual job. Okay, Yuki, sure. The most difficult thing isn't the job itself, but it's the fact that I work 2 jobs and stream. So the fact that I work my full-time American day job, roughly 40 hours a week, plus commute times and stuff, because I'm in office 3 days a week. And I'm a manager, which I used to try and keep track of my time. I haven't done that in a while, but if we think about it, we'll just, we'll say 15 hours a week. Some hours are probably more like 20. Some weeks are probably like 10. But we'll say 15. Like, that's a lot of chunk of time plus stream. So my free time is very limited / non-existent. And that's what gets to me the most. So that's why I've been so adamant about, like, getting off the computer at a certain time and not like streaming for 5 days a week, because then I get stressed out about things I need to do, and then I don't sleep well because I'm not like relaxing enough. So I think I found a good rhythm. Like, I force myself to relax, or like not work on anything for the last hour of the day, things like that. Because I realized I was like stressed out and angry and anxious and tired all the time. And I was like, it's probably because all you do is work. So thanks for hanging out with me this past year while I've not had as much time to stream as I used to. But anyway, I digress. Back to the dwarves.
Against you if you're running this unit, laugh at them. Laugh as their shitty bowmen open fire against your iron breakers for 3 turns straight, only to take out a single guy the whole time.
Oh.
And I would know, because I was the guy getting laughed at. Basically, every dwarf infantry unit also counts as heavy infantry, incidentally, meaning they only need to be lined up in a row of 4 models to get rank bonus. Very helpful. And with them all being toughness 4 at least, lighter strength models are going to have a hard time wounding them on that alone. Leadership is also a stat that dwarfs excel in. Leadership 9
really?
is standard, because dwarves can comprehend the horrors perfectly well, and they simply aren't impressed by what they're seeing.
Wow.
In lore, sometimes longbeard dwarfs will loudly boast that the enemies they used to face were 10 times as strong as the pathetic enemies they do nowadays, such as the sheer stubborn heroism of this race. That's actually a mechanic where nearby units to longbeards can reroll failed panic tests, although, again, with Leadership 9 minimum army-wide, you probably don't need it. I'm not gonna say that routing them is impossible, because in 2 games I've had something of mine chase down and slaughter fleeing dwarfs, but the majority of the time you can rest easy knowing your dwarfs are going to be in the thick of combat and perfectly fine for it. The rules stubborn and resolute also help this in some ways. A lot of units have the stubborn keyword, meaning they can choose to fall back in good order, while resolute means they always subtract 1 from fleeing or pursuing rolls.
I'm gonna be so honest, a lot of this is going over my head as someone who's never played like a tabletop game like that, but I kind of get the gist of some of it. I just don't have all the context,
Essentially, they aren't moving for anything, even if the morale checks don't go your way and it's time to bug out. And even if that does happen, a lot of the time they won't flee outright, but instead just calmly march back a few paces and reform the battle line. Between this and the aforementioned toughness they have, moving a properly positioned dwarf battle line is going to be a monumental task. But of course, we aren't done with the various ways dwarfs tell their opponents to get
They're
bent.
stubborn.
The entire army has at least magic resistance 1, with some units having magic resistance 2. While in some books this is taken to insane levels, like Godric and Malachi McKyson face-tanking a wizard's Kamehameha and calling him a bitch, this is still a nice and free way to ensure anyone running wizards against you is going to struggle that much more, if only if they keep trying to blast you with spells. Do take note that this doesn't help you against magical weapons, those still hit you just fine. The range game is also excellent, as is fitting for an army outfitted with only the finest of crest warship. Quarrelers and Thunderers are fairly standard range units as far as crossbowmen and handgunners
I like the guy with the big drum. I don't know what he does, but I like him.
go, but they do have the dwarf crafted special rule. If they shoot into a unit that's charging them, this rule means they don't have a -1 to hit. Not the most glamorous rule, but certainly helpful, and since they not only have heavy armor, but can either have shields or great weapons, they too aren't going down easy even if they do get charged. But their 5 pieces of artillery are really what makes them stand out. A bolt thrower is a cheap artillery piece that can cut through weaker elite units like butter, and if you're the asshole I played against the old world last time, you keep rolling 6s on your through and through rolls and obliterate an entire rank of swordmasters of Hoeth. A grudge thrower is a catapult that you can put dwarf runes on to ruin someone's day with. The dwarf cannon is the same thing, but a cannon. Light it and beware anyone running monstrous units because it is a cannon. An organ gun isn't actually too high in strength, but you get 2d6 hits every time you fire it. If you roll well on that and pick your targets right, you can potentially take out a good quarter of your opponent's army before the fighting is even started. And the flame cannon. Make anyone playing Tomb Kings against you feel very, very upset as you tell them where they can shove their regen save. I like how one of the crew has a little flag. He's really excited to be cooking you alive. For some final few touches.
I love that. This one has a little flag. He's really excited about cooking you alive. Musicians give bonus morale to rally units. Oh. Which elf girls can do to these bearded men. We'll fuck them up, I'm sure.
The dwarfs are all solid in melee. They aren't warriors of chaos or anything, but as I said with the ranged infantry earlier, they can all take great weapons if they want. Your heavy hitters like Iron Breakers of course are coming in strong, but even the basic warriors are going to be a bitch to fight if only because they've pretty much won the attrition game by default. And slayers are pretty good once they get stuck in, with weapon skill 4 for normal ones and 5 for giant slayers. Not only can they attack on death, but if you roll a 4 up to wound, you always wound, so their strength being 3 and 4 respectively isn't actually something to really worry about. You also have army-wide free hatred against greenskins for everyone. While I focused more on the elves earlier because it's funnier to most people, there isn't a single race the dwarfs hate more than the greenskins. In their mind, every dwarf travesty is either a direct result of the greenskins or came about from greenskins taking advantage of their weakened state. So during the first round of combat against a unit of greenskins, enjoy your free rerolls to hit without you having to actually do anything to get it.
Wait, so they give free rerolls against greenskin players just because they hate them? That's so funny. Flavor like that is so good. You didn't realize about the nip ring in the dwarf? Oh, I don't think I noticed either. I assume in the previous one. Hatred is an actual rule? That's crazy.
They've also got a few movement things to work with, though you better believe I'll be returning to the army as a whole on this front later. The miners can appear on another table edge than the rest of your army, or take a free move at the start of the game. And gyrocopters and gyrobombers are helicopters, so naturally they fly quick-ish in addition to dropping bombs on people you don't like. Their characters are also nice to see. Engineers make your artillery better, runelords and smiths give a unit flaming attacks, and kings and things are your standard lord choices. You can put them on an oath stone if you like, which means any challenges they issue can't be refused. A cool ability, and also that model is just Belagar Ironhammer. You can also use the guy carried by shield bearers, which not only counts as 4 models and can thus fill in the ranks of another unit, but is also technically the only cavalry in the dwarf roster. Behold the pinnacle of dwarf horsemanship.
Oh my god.
You know it's dwarf cavalry because there's no actual horses involved.
It's just 3 guys carrying him. That's your version of a horse. Oh my god.
And the Slayers of Legends, for when you want something to die really badly and you don't mind the goofy striped pants. And to end on named characters, let's start with Ungrim Iron Fist.
Oh,
he has a 4-up armor save and 5-up ward, he has toughness 6, and he has a weapon skill of 9. There are a variety of things Ungrim does, and for the Slayer army, he's the named lord choice. But to keep things simple, here's how you use Ungrim. Find an enemy model you don't like. Send Ungrim after it. When he eventually gets there, it dies. If you want to try to make Slayers work, he's your best bet. Burlock Dammonson is GW reaching into their bag of...
His axe was as big as him. That's crazy. I didn't comprehend that. Fantasy has a lot of flavor rules. fear. Goblins have fear of elves. It's like the opposite of hatred. Okay, okay. Hi, Honcho. No worries. Slayers are cool. Yeah, I liked the Slayer. Their model was cool.
Old lore and pulling out this fella. He's a better engineer, basically.
Oh, I like
Not
him.
the most spectacular of things like Ungrim is, but it's hard to go wrong with that kind of thing, especially in an artillery-heavy list like the Expeditionary Force Detachment. And to round us off, Thorgrim Ulliksson. You likely know him better by his future last name, Grudge Bearer. He may not be High King yet, but the grudges will be settled, and indeed Thorgrim's Grudge Lore rule and Grudgestone weapon mean that at any point, the unit he's in becomes unbreakable to completely ignore morale and gains hatred. Everyone. He has a ward save against Killing Blow and
hatred everyone is crazy. That's wild.
multiple wounds attacks just to make sure he doesn't get sniped immediately, and the Grudge Settler melee weapon, which is a fairly high strength multi-wound weapon with some AP. Grudges will be settled, and the dwarfs will never rout under his command. As a final tabletop upside, most of the dwarf models have held up quite nicely. Dwarfs are short guys in heavy armor, and sure enough, that's most of the dwarfs roster. They don't have the most dynamic opposes, but they don't need them more than any other army. They're dwarfs in a rank and flank game. I want a solid unbreaking line of metal, and they provide.
Okay, it's time for the lore downsides. Interesting. There's a unit of human that are young nobles on horses with guns. They're supposed to harass, but they try so much to impress people that sometimes they just charge the closest unit. Oh my gosh. Are dwarfs taller than halflings and or gnomes? I don't know. Chat, does anyone know? Are dwarfs taller than halflings and or gnomes? I imagine taller than gnomes, maybe? Maybe the same height as gnomes? I don't know. That's my guess, but taller than halflings. Oh, really? Dwarf in Warhammer are taller than halflings. Really? Okay. Gnomes are ultra rare. Interesting. Okay, let's see what the downsides are. I'm curious.
I promise I will attempt to keep my elven sensibilities in check here. Let's start off with an easy one. The dwarfs are well past their prime. That isn't anything too uncommon with fantasy. In fact, it's the standard for pretty much everyone that isn't a human, chaos, or an ogre. But it's really bad with the dwarfs because, as I said, they've never really gotten many chances to take a breath and recover. They had that Silver Age sort of deal where new inventions popped up and Sigmar helped them out, and then it was back to misery. They've been fighting every step of the way and never go down easy, and on a meta level, Thorgrim's ascension to High King is a spot of hope for them that's relatively speaking right around the corner. But even then, the path forward for the dwarfs is harder than any other, so if you don't want an army that the lore seems determined to hurt, you'd best look elsewhere. Not helping this is the next multi-part point, which is that the dwarfs are not helping themselves with their attitudes towards, well, a lot.
I mean, yeah, but if they're psychologically incapable of getting rid of their grudges, they're gonna need to find a way to do that before they get progress anywhere, you know? Shorty, and shortier. So they're taller than halflings, since that's how it is in Lord of the Rings. Halflings are hobbits from... Oh. Really? They're shorter than dwarves? That's crazy. Okay. I believe it.
Start with grudges. Grudges are very cool. No one will ever say otherwise. I certainly won't, at least. But dwarves simply do not let them go. Grudges will be made for the smallest of things sometimes, as I discussed earlier, but even when a grudge is completely warranted, pursuing it may not be. The problem goes like this. A dwarf creates a grudge due to a wrongdoing, and I'll be kind here and say that it is justified. To right it, they marshal their forces and march out against the enemy. There's every chance they'll fail and the army is wiped out, which obviously weakens them. Alternatively, they succeed. Hooray! Grudge wiped. In the process of striking it out of the book, they no doubt still took casualties, creating more grudges that have to be wronged. In this way, have the dwarfs spiraled into having a book of grudges that can never be fulfilled without creating twice as many to erase later. And that's assuming the grudge written actually makes sense and isn't them being petty. But of course, there is literally no word for forgiveness in the dwarf language.
There's no word for forgiveness? They literally can't forgive. That's why the only way to move past it is to kill. That's crazy. There's not even a word to forgive. Jeez. VTubers do be dwarfs. Hey now, hey now. I forgive. I'm not a dwarf. Why have a word for a useless it's not useless! People make mistakes! Being able to forgive and show empathy is how humanity grows. They're a self-perpetuating machine fueled by vengeance. Seriously. It's crazy. Dwarves are the size of average VTubers. What's the average size of a dwarf? What do you guys think the average size of a VTuber is?
Cannot let bygones be bygones, even when they should just accept losses and move on. Aside from this meaning they've only continued digging the hole they find themselves in, it also makes dealing with them potentially dangerous and can be off-putting to other races. The wrong word might end with a strong alliance turning into bitter enemies because you called one of them a bit short-tempered without really thinking that phrase through. There being no word for forgiveness doesn't just extend to other races, though. No, no, no. It extends to themselves, too. What do you think a Slayer is? Those are what happens when a dwarf does something that cannot be forgiven no matter what, be it by themselves or society at large. Given how clannish dwarfs are, that difference by and large doesn't exist. If a dwarf goes too far, they shave most of their head, dye the remaining mohawk red or orange, and go find something to kill until something kills them.
Whoa! They're kind of like the retribution. The retribution. Oh my god, why can't I think of the word? The Sisters of Battle. The retributors? Retributors? No. Is that it? Is that the word I'm looking for? The Sisters of Battle. Repentia! Thank you. God, I was so close. I was so close, but the brain at 7 p.m. is not firing on all cylinders. See, nippering. Yeah, you're right. Nippering. 4'8"? No way they're not 4'8". The average, okay, if we talk about women specifically, the average height for a woman in America is 5'4". I think for a woman in some other countries, like, goes as low to 5 feet. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. But I don't think the average height of a woman in any country is less than 5 feet. So, like, if that's the average, we have to assume it's probably also average. But even if we say 5'5" is too tall, then what? 5'4"? 5'3"? Plus, not all VTubers are even women. I'm just talking women specifically because that's what I know the average of. I don't know what the average is for men. Sorry, men. I just never cared. You tell us. 5'4". 5'4". Every VTuber I know. Okay, that's a lie. A lot of VTubers I know are taller than me. So, the smaller subset of women, I don't know. Certain professions do have certain characteristics. Short queen. I'm not that short. I'm like an inch shorter than average. I'm the short side of average or the tall side of short, depending on how you look at it. You know, however you want to phrase it. I'm tall for short. Or I'm short for average. You know? I don't know if VTubers are small. I don't know. I feel like I disagree with you guys on that one. Maybe I've met more VTubers than you. And you know? I'm short. I mean, I've said before pretty openly, I'm 5'3". I'm 160 centimeters. So I'm like I said, the tall side of short or the short side of average. One retired VTuber, she was short. Okay, you know, anecdotal evidence doesn't count. Even so, I'm one of the tallest. Thank you. I know. I definitely give tall energy, I'm sure. I'm sure I give tall dom energy, right, chat?
are held for slayers because they're going to die. It's just a matter of when. Once you've crossed the line in dwarf society, there is no coming back. And no matter how promising a career you might have had, or even if you might have otherwise somehow saved the dwarfs through degradation, it doesn't matter. You will be dying in battle. The most extreme thing happened when the dwarfs discovered the Chaos Dwarfs, because they just skipped right over the Slayer Oath part. Every direct family member of one of the Chaos Dwarfs killed themselves out of shame.
Whoa, that's wild. I do give tall energy. In fairness, I did think you had tall energy. Big D, top, and tall energy for sure. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. That's funny that you say that, though. I give tall energy. You know what? I'm going to take that win. I'm going to remember the next time I have an interview, hopefully soon, smile. The next time I have an interview, I'm going to go into it going, you know what, Riri? You have tall energy. Let the people think you're tall. It also makes me think of a Jenna Marbles video about making herself taller. So I've done that digitally. You see me as so capable, and that gives you tall vibes. Hey, you know what? I'll take it. Oh my god, I'm tall and capable. You hear that, employers who want to hire someone to work remotely? I am tall and capable. Increase tall energy in online entertainment and communication platforms. Exactly. Anyway.
The above is awesome, though, but it also comes with a probably not even thought about assumption that going too far is some grave sin. You get other dwarfs killed by way of incompetence, something like that. And yeah, sometimes that's the reason for the Slayer Oath. Okay. Sometimes the reason for taking the Slayer Oath, though, is because they lost too much money on Monday poker night, which is rather silly. Warhammer silly, but still silly. Every now and again, a young dwarf does try to seek to be a bit more forgiving, or weary elders try to lay down their arms, and then their gods themselves intervene. Once two dwarf holds were fighting each other for so long that they forgot what the original grudge was even about. When they went to forgive each other, a statue of their gods crashed on their heads, killing them. Grimnir demands you settle those grudges, and if you don't, he'll settle things permanently. Their non-stop self-destructive spiral is divinely mandated.
That's insane. They can't control it. Wow. Print this chat and put it on your CV. I'm tattooing it on my heart. I don't have any tattoos, but I kind of want to get one. And by one, I mean I'll probably start getting a bunch of them. And I'm going to write tall and competent in whatever font Twitch uses. And that's what I'm going to put somewhere. Little tiny little text. Tall and competent. Somewhere that I can look at it when I need confidence. Oh no, womb tattoos are like the opposite of tramp stamps. Good night, Zara. Good night, good night.
So unlike most other Warhammer armies, don't think your homebrew army is going to get away from all the homegrown hatred the dwarves cultivate. Not unless you want every battle you fight to end with, and then Grimnir cursed my guys immediately. Their extreme conservatism doesn't help either. Dwarfs do not like new things. They constantly complain about how new dwarfs have it easy, and that mankind is far too unsafe with what it does and how it experiments, and that anything less than 500 years old is unreliable at best. To some extent, this is understandable.
That's crazy.
They live longer lives and are proud craftsmen. It's undeniable their prototype stages and whatnot would be longer in the name of safety and quality. But most of them will complain almost violently at the slightest sign of someone deviating from how things are supposed to be, at the slightest whiff of a new idea. And yes, sometimes a dwarf engineer will quietly disappear into a room for a few weeks and come out with this invention he totally found in a basement somewhere, and he definitely didn't just create. But by and large, anything like that is heavily shamed.
Funny.
Granted, it isn't 40k tech priest levels of new tech, but more so you will become a social pariah. Of course, if your newfangled contraption does go wrong and take dwarf lives, well, the Slayer Oath is right around the corner for you. I guess to sum up their attitudes is that I'm sure you've read a book or watched a movie or something where if a character would just pull their head out of their ass, they'd be fine. In the case of the dwarfs, you're supposed to be feeling like that all the time because they refuse to pull their head out. On another related...
That's exactly how it's felt this whole time. It's so frustrating. After this video, you should check out Total Warhammer 2 trailer to catch all the dwarf jokes. Oh, dwarf jokes. Dwarf jokes. Are we joking about Pierce?
Note to that last one specifically, the dwarfs also have a pretty hard set time limit on how long they have until they're basically out of the game. They are more advanced than anyone else, and in Gotrek and Felix, there's a book where Felix begins to understand just how far ahead that means when he sees a dwarf train, among other things. But technology is something that can be copied, learned, and replicated. The Skaven do that regularly, although that's a bit more questionable a topic, since Skaven engineering is always self-destructive, but mankind? The Empire is beginning its industrial revolution. Had the setting gone on a bit longer, the dwarfs would find themselves slowly but surely falling behind mankind as they eclipse even dwarf technology. And it's worse for the dwarfs than the elves, because at least the elves will always be better at magic than most others. Mankind will eventually invent better tech, however, because we do things faster than dwarfs, and then the dwarfs must either radically change their culture or become client states to mankind. And last lore downside is rather meta, because at least in my reading, there are far less dwarf books than there are human or elf books. Now this is a bit deceiving. A lot of books such as Thanquil's have a good amount of point of view moments from dwarfs, and if you count Gotrek and Felix, there are more books about a dwarf character than anyone in Warhammer, 40k included. But for a single sit-down book all about dwarfs, there's certainly less than the other two main good guy factions, which is
Dang, really? That's so interesting. I wonder why. Because they're mentioned elsewhere so much that they need less of their own books, maybe?
unfortunate, and certainly deserves a spot in the book for the lack of books.
Tabletop downsides.
Dwarfs, in terms of getting into the nitty-gritty, don't have too many downsides, at least in what I'm willing to outright say. I'm not smart enough to go, this unit is overcosted by 15 points, and for that reason the dwarf sucks. You know, I'm not good at that sort of thing.
Good, because I wouldn't get it anyway.
However, the flip side of that is that the downsides the dwarfs have are brutal. First off is speed. The average dwarf is rocking up with a movement characteristic of 3 inches, and when you...
Oh, 3 inches. Damn. Dwarfs don't have, like, a cultural back and forth with an opposing race. I see. What a short king. What a short king.
Make the Death Guard look fast, you know you're in for a special kind of hell. No, the obvious down...
Wait, I'm just realizing, does that mean, like, when you play Warhammer tabletop, do you have to have a fucking ruler to, like, move your units? If they move by 3 inches? Damn, you move with the ruler? That's crazy. Oh my god, I would, if I ever played, I would for sure have, like, an obnoxious ruler that I decorated with, like, Decora shit on it or something. Don't be mean to us. Did you catch my 3-inch joke? I'm so sorry. 3 inches is perfectly reasonable and average. It's a tape measure normally. Oh, do you sometimes need, like, really long? It can't be... It doesn't, like, ever go up to a foot. You might need, like, 3 feet or something. Wait, it's measured in inches? But isn't this game European? Why isn't it in centimeters? So does everyone play with inches? That's also bizarre to me. Or are there different... Everyone plays with inches. In Europe, it's probably metric. Oh, but everyone plays in inches. What? I wonder why they did that. You need to measure how much do you move and how far you must be. Oh. Wow. Don't blame the Brits. You don't know about the Brits. Tabletop wargaming came out of Dungeons and Dragons. D&D was done in inches. Oh, so they just copied what was already used, basically. Except for some older games maybe using centimeters. That's so interesting. Okay. Today I learned. Wow.
Downside is that you're slow as hell. Any kind of scenario involving you running down an enemy is an uphill battle, to say the least. Those miners and their special rule for coming in at the other ends of the table is something I experienced before.
I'm French. It's inches here too. The game is from England. They are the one that gave Imperial to USA. Wait, in England they use inches too? I thought America using inches was part of like why we wanted to be different than Britain. Am I mixing it up? Did England switch to metric because they wanted to be different than America? I swear that was a thing. Oh, it's D&D came out of tabletop. Oh, okay, never mind. Huh. This was we use centimeters for height, so it's weird. Generally, people know both over here. Oh, really? England did not switch to metric. Okay. I wonder where I heard that then. Maybe my brain just made it up, but I swear I heard that somewhere. Clearly it's wrong, so. The bases are in millimeters, but the game measurement's in inches. And England, people in England know inches. And that's interesting. I didn't know that. I did not know that, actually.
The other player put their dwarfs behind my army to presumably try and destroy my archers. I responded by moving my archers every turn, and they never reached me. The only way that kind of thing will ever work is if you as a dwarf player roll great on advance and charge rolls, and your opponent rolls nothing but 1s and 2s to advancing away from you. But this also is a problem based on how the old world specifically works. As the rank and flank game it is, changing the direction of your unit requires movement to do so.
Oh. Changing the direction takes movement. Damn. So you have to go forward unless you change direction. Holy shit.
If you improperly position your models, you can spend entire turns doing nothing but awkwardly wheeling.
I would just spend all my time awkwardly spinning in circles. I know it.
Units around and then feeling frustrated. Even your gyrocopter and bomber top out at 9 inches of movement, which isn't exactly breaking any speed records, especially for a flying unit. On the topic of speed, they aren't any faster once the fighting starts, because your initiative scores are universally low across the board. And when I say low, I mean that it's a moment of wonder and awe for a dwarf player when they get to hit at initiative 3 instead of 2. Assume in all instances that you will be fighting last in every single combat encounter, because even Grim, the chief slayer and therefore melee character, only has initiative 5.
Wait, Ungrim's a slayer? Oh shit. Skirmish games, changing direction doesn't cost movement. Yeah, I feel like I would prefer skirmish. You can't use it as a mix. Roads are in miles. Wait, roads are in miles? Beer is in pints. All food is sold in metric. Science and engineering have been made in metric. But your speed is not miles per hour, right? Your speed is kilometers? Oh, I feel like this whole time I never knew that. My mind is blown. I learned today. We use miles and miles per hour. What the heck? A pint of beer, like I don't want to drink the beer itself, but the way the phrase a pint of beer sounds is so good.
There are some runes to mitigate this, but they're mitigating it, not turning your dwarf into the Flash. Moving down the list, you have no magical game, which as in lore may be more hindrance than help. But you can dispel enemy spells, and they suffer on casting rolls. That latter part doesn't apply to any magical buffs your enemy provides themselves. An Anvil of Doom does have some runic magic it can use, but the funny thing about that thing is that it doesn't move. Once you put it on the battlefield, it can't move at all, only wheel. So if you want anything resembling magic, you're paying over 200 points minimum for a big brick. Otherwise, just enjoy getting pelted with fireballs while you can do nothing about it. It's also...
And you can't move it, so if you want to like add runes to it, I imagine you have to walk back to it. Oh, jeez. UK's Narnia. Fair.
Oh, just a shame, you know? You pick the one army that doesn't get to cast spells. You have to just sit back and watch everyone else enjoy entire other phases of the game.
I wouldn't
You also
like
have
that.
no cavalry or monsters. And no, the goddamn king getting carried around on a shield is not cavalry. This is both related to the speed issue and a shame on its own, because it also means you never have the option of an Unga Bunga giant smash monster to throw.
Are they just too short? Surely there's gotta be another short, tiny monster that they could ride. Just because they can't ride horses.
At the enemy. Having lost most of my old world games, and to dwarfs funnily enough, this isn't the worst hindrance in the world, at least if you're playing against an idiot like myself. But the moments you need a giant or your opponent isn't running theirs like a moron, you're gonna feel it. Special mention must be given to Slayers, however, in spite of how I opened this segment saying I wouldn't get too specific. They are indeed good in melee, but they're still dwarfs, so getting to melee is going to take time. And would you like to guess their armor save? Go on, take a guess really quick. Was their answer 0?
I was gonna say 0.
Congratulations, you're correct. They don't have one. Slayers are a decent enough distraction unit because once they get into melee, they'll be a problem. But getting into melee is the big sticking point. If your opponent rolls well for hitting and wounding, you kind of just have to accept that Grimnir will be awaiting them sooner than you probably hoped. A shame, because they're the most flavorful unit in a dwarf army, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
this
they do
one is
look
less
the
of a
coolest.
downside with dwarfs and more of a warning, but I beg of you, just don't fight Tomb Kings. Not because it's a bad matchup, but because unless the Tomb Kings player brings the Scorpion with the funny rule that kills everything that fails an initiative test against it, it's gonna be the most boring match of your life. The first 2 turns of the game will be both of you maneuvering your slow as hell infantry to the fight as both armies waddle across the field. After that, every turn goes as follows. The Tomb King's infantry kill 1 model of Dwarf Warriors. The Dwarf Warriors kill 5 Tomb King skeletons. The Lich Priest then resurrects 4 Tomb King skeletons. Rinse and repeat as you and your opponent stare at each other until someone either rolls absurdly well or the Tomb King's player loses his Lich Priest. Unless you really want to recreate the stalemate of trench warfare in a fantasy setting, just don't play that matchup.
That
and
sounds
the last
horrible.
tabletop downside is me going back on some of the words I said earlier. Most of the dwarf army holds up fine. I'm not even going to count them all being similar as much as a downside. You want dwarfs, you probably want that uniformity, and there is just enough differences
That's fair, I
from unit to
think.
unit that you can tell what's at least different there.
Playing dwarfs in Total War is a very reactive thinking game of trying to predict where the opponent wants to be and putting dwarfs there to block them. Yeah, that makes sense. They can ride ponies in AOS. The Slayer dwarfs ride giant lava lizards. I mean, I like that. That's something.
But the models that don't hold up, oh dear lord, do they not hold up. In fact, Slayers get the worst of that, too. Look at those faces and the sculpts in general.
I was gonna say, these faces are so bad. That one on the left. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
I like to think I'm not that much of a model snob, because quite frankly, when people bitch about old world models, I usually just roll my eyes. How dare a rank and file game not have the most dynamically posed models all looking like they're trying to outcompete each other to see who gets to be on the cover of the next Call of Duty game. But some of these units, yeah, I get it. Maybe it's because I think the rest of the dwarfs are fine, but when something goes wrong here, boy howdy can you see it. Although I make an exception for the Imperial dwarfs. I love my meatball men. How...
Wait, I love them, though. Wait, I low-key love them. Calling them meatball men is so good. I don't know who they are, but low-key love them. There's something endearing, weirdly cute in an ugly way. No, I get that. I get that. It's like it has a certain aesthetic to it. They're so funny. They're so goofy looking. I like the one with the black hat on the far right. So goofy. They're just little guys.
Could you not love the meatball men? Although I certainly don't love their $53 price tag, though.
Ew,
that one does not get love from me.
No,
and those were the
hate
dwarfs
that.
of Warhammer Fantasy. Grim, resolute, angry little alcoholics that have come to inform you that because your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather slighted their dad, your entire home is now going to burn. Thank you as always to my wonderful channel members. You are the grudges to my dwarfs, giving me the strength and power I need to continue complaining about things that are at least in part my fault. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe or become a member. Either way, thank you for watching and take care out there.
Dang. Thanks for the video, Pancreas. All right, he always does a joke at the end, huh? We'll wait for the joke. We'll wait for the joke. Tag yourself. I'm the one with the yellow hat. I guess I'm the one with the black hat that I said I liked at the bottom at the end. Their spears being longer than them is such a vibe. I think that's what gives them that goofy little look. What's he gonna say? Doesn't he? Doesn't he usually say something at the end?
Dowie, more like smelly, absolutely got them. Get bent, stunties. Your precious beard will never be regrown because the swordmasters will continue to cut it off. Maybe if you wrap some of your books of grudges around your feet, you wouldn't be so short. Idiot. Stupid. Short. No, I'm not tall enough in real life to be saying this. I don't care.
Oh my god. Okay. That was funny. You hear him? Take care of yourself. I will. I will take care of myself. Don't you worry. That was good. That was a good watch. I needed something a little lighthearted. The days that I stream like after work and stuff are always a bit, they're a bit tougher. Because I'm so limited. But yeah, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Let's see. I have to raid Kana because she's actually watching a Numbskulls video right now. She's learning about orcs, and I know how much Warhammer fans like orcs. So we're gonna be raiding Kana. I know I raided her recently, but she's learning about orcs, and like I said, I can't pass that up for you guys. And she should be live on YouTube as well, so we can raid on YouTube too. Let me But yeah, I should be live tomorrow. We'll do like co-working and yapping. We'll do co-working and yapping. But I'll probably start early and end early is my goal. So I'll probably start a little earlier to try to get some more time with yeah, she's watching orcs. But yeah, I'll start early. I'm just curious. I want to see how that goes. So don't worry, YouTube, you're also gonna get to raid Kana as soon as I end. It'll send you over to her. She's a friend of mine. We may or may not have plans to do some Warhammer stuff together in March. That's as much as I'll say. And she's the person that I'm probably gonna play Warhammer 3 with next week. Sorry, Space Marines 2. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, thank you guys for rating. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a good night or day wherever you are. Please take care of yourself, drink plenty of water. I'll be live tomorrow morning for co-working, and I will see you guys tomorrow, okay? Okay, bye guys. Bye. Bye.
Just a normal day, or so we thought. Suddenly